Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'd like to present you the video from painting the troll from the board game The Witcher Old World. First of all, we prime the mini with the black primer. In my case this is the Chaos Black from Citadel. I'm priming the mini from every angle just to cover the whole lot. Next, in the skin part up front, which will be a little brighter than the rest of the model, we put a wee bit of the grey primer, as you should see on the clip now. In my case I used again the Citadel grey sear. I used the rulebook picture of this troll as a reference, how the model should look like once it's finished. You can see that picture now, and then if you have the board game, please have a look. Now we'll be painting the back part of the mini, the rock skin on his back. I'm using a Vallejo paint called German Grey, which is a pretty dark grey color. Then we're gonna use again a bit of a wash on it, and then dry brush to bring it up. But as a base for that, we cover the whole model, the back of the model, with the German Grey. Next we're gonna paint the skin of the troll. We're gonna use the mix 50-50 of the Citadel paint, Stylian Drop and Zandrit Dust. I'm using the wet palette and mix them on it, so then the paint soak a bit of the water from the wet palette and don't need any further dilution. So we cover the whole lot, up front, the whole head, the legs and the bottom part of his arms. I had a wee clip from the second camera with my wet palette showing the mixing stage. Unfortunately the file went up corrupted, so I can't blend it into this video, so sorry about that. Next time I'll use the different camera and see how's that work. Next we're gonna paint the eyeballs. I'm using a Vallejo Ivory for that. You can use that for the eyes for any model. I think it's far better than a white color. Later on this clip I will show you how to paint the eyes pupils as well. Next we're gonna paint his forehead using the German Grey again, but this time we're gonna add quite a lot of water to this paint, so we put very thin layer of this paint on his forehead, just to bring that color a wee bit darker. Then once we're gonna put the shading on it, it will blend nicely with the rest of the model. I'm using a wee bit of this paint as well on his arm muscles, just to blend the transition from the rocks to the skin. Now we're gonna paint the wee rocks that grow in on his part of the skin. That's the little pieces usually on his legs, and we're gonna use the pure German grey to do that. Just off the record, this is my first video from the actual painting, but if you'd like to see my other minis painted, like from the Zombicide Black Plague or from the Talisman board game, the card should appear in the corner of this screen now, so please click and have a look at my other project. Thanks. Next we're gonna paint his mouth and nose. I usually use an Boogman's Glow for that, which is I think the perfect color mix for that purpose. I'm using that not only for monster but any human models as well. Next we're gonna put a bit of a shading, and for the skin part of the first stage I put the Agrax Arid shade from Citadel, very popular paint, but for this troll it will work perfectly. I would like to have a bit of a darker model, and again, once we finish that, we do a bit of a highlight, and as you can see later on, I will put another wash on the top of that. I love to put a lot of washes on it, so there you go. There will be two different colors of wash to achieve the effect. The back of the model that we previously painted with German grey, now I'm gonna cover with the wash called Noon Oil, which is a pretty black wash, and mainly going into the recesses before we put the dry brushing on those rocky parts. So cover the whole lot, arms, top parts of the arms, back and legs, apart from the part of the skin. I'm also using this black wash to go around the eyeballs, just to bring more deep effect in that area. Next we're gonna use Carver Crimson Wash, and that's going mainly into his mouth and nose, as well on his throat, as I want to create a bit of effect of dried blood. Once we add a second wash after that, the effect should come on automatically. Next we're gonna do a bit of a highlights on his skin. I'm using the same mix of the Steel Legion drop and Zandri dust. I add quite a bit of water into the mix, just to put a very thin layer of the paint, and every consecutive layer we will be adding a bit more of a Zandri dust, just to bring the stone a little bit lighter. I'll have to confess that preparing this video was a bit of a challenge, and honest to God, it took much more time to put all that together than actual painting the minis. So there you go, this is it. Yeah, but I won't give up, and I will try to put another one. So if you have any particular model from the game that like to see it painted by myself, please leave the comment, and I'll see what I can do. I'll do my best to put it on together. Once that's done, I'm gonna put, as I said earlier on, another layer of the shade, and this time I'm gonna put the Rakeland flash shade, which is a very bright color, very light color shading, and that will helps to blend all the highlights with all, as well as the dry blood effect from the Carver Crimson. So we cover the whole part of the skin and the head again with the Rakeland flash shade. Next we're gonna do a dry brush on the back of the Mini, on his rock part, and we're gonna use 3 different colors for that. The darkest will be Ashen Grey, then we're gonna use another lighter tone, and then at the end we're gonna use a bit of ivory to that color, just to bring the top part of the model as much bright edges as possible. So we start with the Ashen Grey, and we dry brush the whole lot, going a wee bit into the recesses, just to bring this rocky part a bit brighter. I start with the big brush in the back part, as this was much handier, as this figure is pretty large, but then in the areas that you need to go a bit more precise, I suggest to get a way smaller brush. In my case I'm using the Army Painter dry brush set, but then if you don't have that, you can use any other brushes for dry painting. Next we use the Storm Vermin Fury, which is a bit brighter gray tone, and again we're not going into the recesses, we literally touch the edges of the whole Mini, just to create a bit more 3D rock effect. And finally, once we finish with that, I will be mixing this color with the ivory from Vallejo, and towards the end I will be putting a very bright dry brush, but only from the top part of the model. Well, I managed to do a bit of dry brushing on the skin, so in that case, if it's happened to you, you might have to put some corrections on the skin using the same mix of the colors as we used previously. And we also gonna do a bit of a highlight on the wee rocky parts that are in the middle of the skin, and you can't really do the dry brushing on them, so then I'm using the mix of the storm vermin fur and ivory, and do a wee bit of a touch on those wee rocky parts there. We also gonna do a bit of a highlights using the Bookman's Glow on his mouth, so just to bring a little bit more brighter on those areas. Next we're gonna put the technical paint on the base. It's called raven.art, and once you put it quite thick coat on your base, it will bring the effect of the cracked earth, which looks pretty awesome to me. So that's why I choose this paint. However, I would like to go with a bit different color, so then I will add a wee bit of the Armageddon dunes after that as well. While our base is drying, I'm gonna show you how I'm painting the ice pupils. I use the steel rod 0.3 millimeters attached to a wee bit of a toothpick, and then you put a tiny bit of the German grey at the edge of this rod and simply point it to the eyeball, wherever you would like to have the ice pupils. I found this much easier than the brush. I have far better control of what I'm doing with it, so if you having a problem putting the ice pupils on the tiny wee eyeball, well worth to try it. You can find those steel rods in any shops for the modelers, especially RC model shops. Now I'm gonna add a bit of a Armageddon dunes texture from Citadel. Two reasons. One is a bit of a color, and the second thing is that this paint have a kind of like a sandy effect, so in some areas we're gonna have a bit of a sand effect, and in the others we're gonna have a bit of a cracked soil. Just remember, when using this paint, use your old brush, because you literally, if you put a fine brush into it, you're gonna ruin it. And we're back to Agrax Earthshade again, and we're gonna use it to wash the whole base Once our wash is dry off, then we can do a bit of a dry brushing. I use the Sundry Dust, but again, you might take the same color from Armageddon Dunes, which they are pretty similar. And to finish the base, we're gonna use the German Grey again to put it on the edges. So this is our troll so far. We're gonna add a few final details just to finish it off. First we're gonna put a wee bit of a grass, and I decided to use wood glue to have a firm connection with the base. The grass, I choose a kind of like a dry grass color just to match with the rest of the base. And once that's done, we're gonna put a bit of a blood on his face and his fist. I'm using the blood from the Citadel, as you can see there earlier on, and again I'm using my steel rod to put it on. As I said, I have a better control of it, so put it a bit of a fist on his mouth, and again we're gonna do a few drops on the grass and on the bottom of the base. And that will be pretty much it, guys. So again, if you like this video, please leave the thumb up and subscribe to the channel, and if you would like to see any particular mini from this game, write it in the comment. I'll do my best to put it on together. So this is the final stage of painting this model. I think it will look awesome on the table when we play it again in the old Witcher, and I hope you enjoy watching it. And if you'd like to see more of this video, please don't forget to subscribe. Take care, bye now.